Okay, so now that you have the context and the stuff I told you about Ebbinghaus, we are kind of into the 1950s, 1960s, and into that interesting time when behaviorism started sort of giving way to what we call the cognitive revolution. And basically, it wasn't a rejection of behaviorism. It was much more like, okay, we see the value of doing science in as objective a way as possible, but we're a little constrained by just focusing on stimuli and responses. We know there are internal mental processes, and in fact, the computers came out, and computers had things like memory and input devices and output devices, and it started to make people kind of think, well, we can talk about things like memory and maybe even attention as sort of, where the input is going or something, and maybe we can't see everything directly, but maybe if we're clever, we can still do experiments that help us learn and understand about our internal processes, our cognitive processes. So cognitive psychology was really like about the software of the mind. How does the mind process information? Um, and yeah, it really rose out of behaviorism. And one of the areas, we heard about a lot of the areas in perception. We talked about some cognitive psychology already in the perception chapter. Now we're going to hear some of the memory side of that research in this chapter. Okay, and so let's start with this modal memory again, Schifrin's modal memory, and we'll again reconnect with this now and then. But we're going to focus on here, this first step of sensory memory, and just see where this sits. Input from our eyes, from our ears, from whatever, and then there's the sensory memory system, and then eventually it'll go on to short-term memory. This sensory memory system is going to be really kind of cool, and I want to give you a sense of why it's there in the first place. It is there because we're really stitching together our reality every moment. We're looking over there and seeing a little something and kind of hearing a sound over there and then looking over here, and we're getting all these little bits of perception, and they are somehow combined to form a reality. And one of the ways that makes that a little seamless are these sensory memory systems, and they allow us to do this. I might be looking sort of over here, and maybe something of relevance starts to happen here and then disappears. My mind was elsewhere. I was thinking about something. And so when that thing happens over here, I kind of note something's happening. But sometimes by the time I shift my attention, that thing is gone. But what sensory memory is going to do is kind of keep it alive a little bit, even after it's gone. It's still going to be a little bit alive. Okay, so let's get a sense. And that allows us to seamlessly shift our attention almost as though there's an overlap, almost as though we join that perception, but we get to watch a little of what we missed. So we get connected back to it. We don't notice any of this happening, by the way. Okay, let's just jump in here and talk about it a little more specifically. So here's the idea that often we have a sensory trace, or a stimulus remains a little bit available even after the stimulus is gone. And so we call these sensory memories. They're very short-lived. As you'll see, in the visual sense, we think about a second. In the auditory sense, maybe longer. And they're kind of cool because they show, I mean, it's one of these areas where you come back to this challenge of psychology and you say, okay, well, why did you come to this idea in the first place? And how can you study such a thing? Okay, and so Sperling's studies of iconic memory are an example of a little bit of a complex methodology, but one that really allows you to study something that's hard to see in a pretty good way. So first of all, hard to see. Let me see. So if I do this, I think my head's going to be there. My head's not there now. But if I do this around, well, let me jump ahead. I'm actually doing my spinny thing, my spinny light thing. So let me do it over here. When I'm in class, I turn out all the lights, I put on my cell phone, and I wind my arm around really fast. And you can try doing that too, and get somebody else to do that. And if they do it fast enough, and so I'm going to try to do it with my mouse here. If I do this fast enough, what you eventually... It's harder with a mouse, by the way. What you eventually see is a circle. Now here it does actually look like sort of a mouse. But do you see several mice, several of those arrows at a given time? You don't just see one, right? You see sort of a little trail of arrows. But there is only one there at any given time. If I stop, you'll see, oh, sorry, stop but don't press. If I stop, you'll see there's only one. But when you start going, it feels like there's a little trail following a bit behind it a little bit. Those are the iconic memory of where that thing was just a few times before. It's not on the screen. At least I don't think this is on the screen. I'm not sure about this particular stimulus. But certainly if it's a light that you're swinging, and you'll get that same impression of a trail behind that light, there is no screen there. That's just the air between you and the light. But you will see that trail. You will see that sort of trail forming. And people notice this. They notice things like on wagon wheels, that if you put a light on a wagon wheel and you spin it, it forms a circle. But it's only one light. Where is that circle coming from? How is there all that light? And the idea is, yeah, it's hanging around there. It's being held onto by a memory system. So it's not there in the real world. When I do this, it's not on the screen. It's somewhere in your mind, somewhere in your visual system. There is a trace of a stimulus that was just there, but is there no longer. Okay, so let me bring you to this video. We're going to watch this video together, and then I'll talk about it more. But let's just jump into here. I'm just going to let you read along. So you're going to see a 3x3 grid of letters flashed. And then when you do, try to write them all down. So it's always going to begin with this plus sign. Stare at the plus sign. After the flash, write down the letters that you saw. And we want to know how many you can remember from this little sensory glimpse. I also want you to keep in mind what it feels like in your mind. Does it seem like you first could see them all, but then they were fading? Okay, here we go. Practice round one. How many of those can you remember? I saw an R and a Z and something else. Okay, but you would just write down all of those you remember. Now there's 9 possible. There it was, R, Z, L. So there's 9 possible. I got 2. I'll try to do better next time. I don't want to say it out loud because I don't want to bias you guys. Right. So you're not going to be prompted. You're just going to do it. Okay, so we're going to try a few of these. This is called the whole report because we're asking you to report all 9. So W, Q, and L, and E. W, Q, and L. So I was wrong about the E. Okay. A few more trials now. Oh, these are still the practice trials. Holy crap. You get the idea, I think, maybe. There's a little more on the bottom that time. P, N, maybe a B. I think there's an L. Okay, P. Oh, so there's the N there. B. Wrong about the L. So I'm getting about 3. But it feels like I'm seeing more than 3. It's just by the time I report them, I can only seem to still have 3. Okay, so this is the real experiment. Give her a go. So dramatic. So I got CK, UV. Don't steal mine if you didn't have them. So that felt to me like I'd seen them all, but then I kind of grabbed onto those ones in the upper left corner. So again, pay attention to what it feels like. Here we go. Look at a Z, a J, a W. I think it was like an O in the middle. So now I'm in the upper right. Z, J, W. Well, an O below. So that's what it feels like to me. Like I can see them all, and then I move to one area and I try to grab onto something. I'm gonna try to do it really well this time. H, N, B, Y, V. HNBYV. I got 5. I'll shut up during this next one. And then the next one after that, I'll try to do immediately. So I'm shutting up. XREOJW. DJW. Oh. Notice I made a mistake calling that an O, which is something that would look similar, right? We'll come back to that. Boy. Okay, I'm going to say this out loud as quick as I can. CBKID. I think there was an M in the bottom left corner. Maybe an R after beside it. Yeah, not all that well. Okay, so you're getting the idea. I don't know how many of these there are. And I'll maybe just talk over the next 1 or 2 they do. I could fast forward. I have no idea how many trials they're going to do here. Let's see how long this video is. Okay, here's the partial report coming up. Okay. Oh, okay, we're just about there. So this is 6. I think it's going to go to the next condition. So the idea is just to, you have an idea how many you could get. For me, it was about 3 or 4. Reliably, I would say I could get about 4 pretty accurately when I tried to get all 9. So now we're going to do the partial report. So it'll be similar. There'll be 9 presented, but then you'll get a cue telling you which row to report. So it's going to be a tone. I hope you can hear the tone. And a pair of arrows. Okay, they'll both be there. High means top row. Middle tone means middle row. And low means low. That's high. Medium. Low. Okay, so it's still going to flash 9, but that's going to play a tone. And if it's this one, then you do the top 3 letters of the 9. If it's this one, then you do the middle 3 letters of the 9. If it's this one, then you do the lower 3 letters of the 9. Okay? And that's all. That's the most you have to worry about is those 3 of the row that you're trying to get. And they'll also have arrows telling you which row, so it should be easy. Let's try a few practice trials. Oh, I wasn't paying attention down there. I didn't get it. Sorry. I don't know if you saw that email notification, but it pulled my eye away. So we got 0. M's yes. Okay. I'm going to try better this time. Yeah. Let's do it. Go ahead. Yeah. Blah, 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 blah. LW. VLW? VLW. RFB. Okay, so I'm not going to continue and play this. You can go ahead and play the whole game. You can in fact try it both ways and see what you get. But you already noticed for me, this is why I'm kind of stopping, because I was ahead. On both of those partial reports, I was able to get all 3. But when you asked me to do all 9, I could only get about 4. But again, when people were doing the all 9, they would report things like I did. They would say, it's kind of like I saw them all, but it was almost like a dream. They faded away. And so I had to quickly grab onto some in order to report them out loud. And if that's true, well then, if we queue like this, if you originally have all 9, and now we tell you which ones to focus on, you should be able to get them very well. And as you see for me, I can get all 3. The fact that I can get 3 from any row without knowing which row ahead of time suggests that in fact all 9 are there at first. And as long as I know quickly enough which row to get, I can show you that I have that whole row. And it doesn't matter which row you pick. I can show you that. So this is what Sperling found. That when it was the full report, the whole report, people got about 4 out of 9 right. When it was tell me a specific row, they could get 2 to 3 out of 3 right, which means they could have done 2 to 3 from any row because they didn't know which row ahead of time. So that means they really see about 7 or 8 when you present all 9 at first. But then, here's the really cool thing about the Sperling experiment. You can have thing flash, and then you can wait for a period of time before that tone or arrow comes. And so by waiting a period of time before you tell people which one to report, you can see how quickly iconic memory fades. And what they found is it fades in about 1 second. If you wait 1 second before you cue, then people now they can't do any better than they could with the whole report. So they do what they did with the whole report, which means they take those 9 and they remember like 4 of them. And then when you pick a row, that means they're going to get about 1 right per row, usually. So they sink down to a level that's about whole report after a second. Okay, so I wanted to show you that for a couple of reasons. One is it shows you again this cleverness, right? Trying to measure how quick a visual image that only we see in our minds, how quickly that fades. But using this sort of approach, Sperling was able to, first of all, show that we do have a memory for an item even after it's gone, up to a second, and he was able to actually, time it, how long that sticks around. So I always thought that was kind of cool and a great example of, how clever you sometimes have to be to scientifically study something you can't see directly. Okay, echoic memory. It turns out that maybe every one of our sensory systems has a brief memory, holds on to information it just perceived for a while at a time. And in fact, iconic memory was the things that people started to study at first, but it may be echoic memory that is strongest of them all, which may not be surprising given how much we rely on language as human beings, and language is auditory. So in fact, this is the first version of this I bet you know well. So have you ever been in a situation where, let's say, you're absorbed in studying, you're trying to get ready for a test, your mind is there, and maybe your little brother or sister or significant other or somebody says something to you, and at first it's annoying because you're trying to concentrate, and so you might say, what? But in the time it takes you to kind of change your mind from what you're thinking about to the what, you can kind of replay what they said. And often you say, oh, never mind, and then you answer them. And so they might have said something like, so you're focused studying, and they say, can I get you something to eat? And you're like, what? Oh, sorry. Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you. But it's like you can replay what they said after they said it. They said it, then you said what? Then you replayed it, and you knew what they said. So it hangs around for a little while. This is, an example I can give you here, and I'll just, I'm not going to use these numbers. I'll use different. In fact, let me use letters for you guys. So what I want you to do in this case is I'm going to just read a bunch of letters. And at some point, I'm just going to say stop. And first of all, what I want you to do is pay attention to what's kind of in your mind when I say stop. And I want you to tell me the last few letters. Sort of work backwards when I say stop. Kind of think, how far back can you go? And what were those letters that you heard just before stop? So don't try to memorize while I'm saying these things. Don't try to memorize, just try to listen. And then when I say stop, see what you can remember before. So for this one, for example, I might say 5, 3, 5, 7, 2, stop, and maybe you hear 5, 7, 2, stop, or 3, 5, 7, 2, stop, or maybe you remember 5, 3, 5, 7, 2, stop. But kind of pay attention to your mind and see what you got. Okay, you ready? Here goes. A, F, W, X, Y, B, R, F, stop. Do you have BRF stop? XY BRF stop? FWXY BRF stop? AFWXY BRF stop? Did it feel like you could actually hear that? Let's try it once more, and let's just see And this time I'll use 2-digit numbers just to make it a little different. Okay, ready? Here we go. 12, 47, 63, 36, 22, 82, 91, 57, 12. Stop. I bet you maybe had 57, 12, stop. Maybe 91, 57, 12, stop. Maybe 82, 91, 57, 12, stop. Those are the last four. If you want to see if you got them all, the all was 12, 47, 63, 36, 22, 82, 91, 57, 12, stop. Did you notice that it just seems to hang around? I think if you pay attention to this in your daily life, you'll notice this what effect happening quite a bit. And it does allow you, and it shows you really well what it allows you to do. It allows you to shift your attention over and still kind of know what was going on before your attention got there, because there's a memory of what was there that your attention can access, which is very kind of cool. Okay, so yeah, with experiments like Sperling's, you can get at the duration of these memory systems. And again, iconic memory we now know lasts about 1 second, that visual form. The echoic memory seems to last about 4. And that seems to be, because we use language so much, we need to be able to hear so much of what was just said in order to make any sense of it. Cool. Those are your sensory memory systems. You probably have ones for touch. You probably have ones for every sense. These are the two we usually focus on in an intro psych to give you a sense. But that's the first memory system. And all it's doing is keeping perception alive for a little while so that we can smoothly shift our attention to different modes. Cool. Excellent. Talk to you later.